This is how you write a sympathetic character. Spin-offs are rarely ever as good as the original, and while I do believe that statement holds true for All Grown Up, the 2003 spin-off of Rugrats, I also believe that the show was still very good in its own right. Season 1 made a very good first impression featuring 2 of the strongest episodes of the series, and today I'm going to be focusing on one of those episodes, Lucky 13, which also happens to be the 13th episode of the series, so that's kinda neat. The episode revolves around Angelica's efforts to make her 13th birthday party the best it can be, which is an interesting choice to say the least. The episode aired in 2004, meaning that the Rugrats franchise spent the better part of 13 years, holy shit, establishing that Angelica is not a very likable person. She served as an antagonist for a large chunk of her appearances, even if she did have her sympathetic moments. Hell, in the All Grown Up special, she coerced Tommy into stealing his dad's medallion so she could wear it to a concert, which he got grounded for. It was gonna take a lot to make the audience want things to work out for her. So, how do you do that? How do you make someone so mean the sympathetic one in a story? Simple. You introduce someone meaner. Enter Savannah. Savannah's existence serves 2 major purposes for Angelica's character. Firstly, to fill the role as an antagonistic rival, and secondly, to establish Angelica's social standing in school. With Angelica's personality and the fact that she has rich parents that give her whatever she wants, you would think that she'd be one of the most popular girls in school. But as Lucky 13 clearly points out, she isn't. This is an important detail because of how this changes things up from the original series. In Rugrats, as the oldest of the main characters and the only character besides Susie that can speak to the adults, Angelica was in a position of power, but in All Grown Up, she doesn't have that. While far from a part of the uncool crowd, it's shown in this and later episodes that Angelica is a desperate social climber. It was easy for her to have power when her only peers were her 1-year-old cousin and his friends, but now she's in middle school, and as we all know, middle schoolers are literal devil spawns. She has to now contend with girls that are more manipulative, more popular, and again, meaner than she ever was. To put it succinctly, All Grown Up gives Angelica one of the biggest vibe checks of the early 2000s. After a brief fantasy sequence, the episode opens up with Angelica being asked to leave the 13 and over table, because of course that's a thing, and in true Angelica fashion, she brags that she'll be 13 herself very soon, and that her party was going to be the party to end all parties. But almost immediately after, she's hit with the old 1, 2, 3. 1. Only 5 people RSVP to her party, including her 2 best friends. 2. Her mom's forcing her to invite Tommy and his friends, meaning that if no one else RSVP'd, they would outnumber the guests that she actually wanted to come. Tommy and Dill are the only ones that accept the invitation at first, but that's beside the point. 3, and this is the big one, Savannah schedules a party on the same day as Angelica's, and she doesn't even bother to make it seem like a coincidence, because whether it is one or not, Savannah knows that as the more popular girl, more people are gonna wanna go to her party. I'll say it again so it sinks in. Middle schoolers are literal devil spawns. Keep in mind, this all happens within the first 10 minutes and it only gets worse from there. Angelica is put through the ringer, and what helps drive it home is how her expressions are drawn, and especially Cheryl Chase's vocal delivery. There's a scene where after Savannah's party is announced, people are calling Angelica to cancel on her party, and at this point, it's really hard not to feel sorry for her.
Hello? Oh, hi, Amanda. What? But you already said... Oh, yeah, whatever.
It must be said, thank God for Harold and Susie, because so far they're the only things keeping this episode from becoming depressing. And I think that's an important element to have. We need those moments of brevity so the more emotional moments don't get too taxing. I try to avoid plot summary as much as I can when doing these types of videos, but I feel it's important to show how each event so far leads up to what happens next. In a last-ditch effort, Angelica asks Savannah to change the date of her party, to which Savannah says, "I'll see what I can do." So you know she didn't do shit.
Savannah, would you please tell these 2 the new date of your party?
Oh my gosh, didn't I tell you? I really tried to move things around, but no luck. Sorry. But you said that I'd see what I could do, and I did. Bye-bye.
So now you see why the plot summary was necessary to a degree. Like I said before, Angelica was put through a ringer for almost the entire episode so far, and this is where it all comes to a breaking point. It really puts the scope of Angelica's actions into perspective. She's done a lot of things over the years, but at the end of the day, most of the things we've seen her do was from when she was a toddler. Really, the worst thing she's done as a preteen was get Tommy grounded for stealing, which is the only thing she's done that I would consider hard to forgive. Most of the bad things that happen to Angelica in both shows are more often than not caused by her own bad behavior. There was even an episode where this was the central focus, but in this episode she did literally nothing to deserve what came to her. All she wanted was to throw a party, but because one person wanted to be vindictive just for the hell of it, she's not allowed to have that. Angelica is no stranger to crying when she doesn't get what she wants, but here, damn man, she really didn't deserve this. This is a level of emotion that we don't get very often in the Rugrats franchise. I can only recall a handful of moments like this, at least a third of them being from the movies, but I think the fact that we don't get these moments too often is what makes them hit harder. Speaking of moments that hit hard, after Angelica runs off, not a second later, this happens.
Doesn't she know I planned it for that day on purpose? I know it sounds mean, but Angelica did break a major rule by assuming she'd be popular before proven. It's a hard lesson, but it's for her own good. In the long run, she'll thank me.
I can't believe it. Someone actually out-meaned Angelica.
Same bro, this girl's a goddamn monster. I think this is a good time to talk about Savannah. She serves her role as a villain really well. There's a distinct difference between her brand of cruelty and Angelica's. When we look solely at All Grown Up, most if not all of Angelica's meanness came from selfishness rather than actively trying to tear someone down. Savannah, on the other hand, specifically targeted Angelica for no reason other than Angelica breaking some arbitrary popularity rule. So of course, it makes her downfall all the sweeter when Tommy tricks Savannah into canceling her own party. And it's a nice little character moment for him, showing that Angelica's deviousness has rubbed off on him in some way. But I might be looking a little bit too deep into that. The last important detail that helps make Angelica more sympathetic is that she's grateful for the people that were there for her. Despite how hard things got, she never rejected the support of Susie and Harold. They were among the first people she invited to her party, and once she finds out what Tommy did for her, the first thing she does is call him and his friends over to thank them in person, even if it was hard for her to get the words out, and she invites them to sit in the cool kids section. And while some may question why Angelica would let Savannah stay at her party after all she's done, I honestly see it as a power play, more of an act of mercy than an act of forgiveness. Angelica letting Savannah be a guest at a party that Savannah tried to cancel so she can see everyone having fun at a party that isn't hers, and excluding her from the VIP section, is just the ultimate flex. One of the main goals of All Grown Up is to show that while these are still the Rugrats we grew up with in the 90s, they've grown and changed in ways both big and small. Each character had at least one episode throughout the series showing that, and for Angelica, Lucky 13 was her best. And this is just one of several reasons why I feel All Grown Up is a worthy successor to the original Rugrats. It may not be as good as the original, but I'd argue that it doesn't really have to be when it's clearly a different kind of show. It just needs to be good at doing its own thing. And to me, it is. If for no other reason than the fact that it shows how to write a sympathetic character properly. Note to self, write a full defense of All Grown Up video. So what did you think? Swarm that comment section below or bug me on social media. Until next time, keep it sketchy folks.